Have you ever wondered what happened in the Pride Lands between Scar's defeat and the happy ending we see in The Lion King? We see Simba take his place on Pride Rock. The rains come, and then boom, Kiara is presented to the kingdom. It all seems so perfect. A little too perfect. What if I told you there was a hidden chapter? A story of Simba's darkest night. A time when he almost lost everything he had just fought so hard to reclaim. This isn't a story you'll find in the movie, but it's one that connects the dots and reveals just how deep Scar's shadow truly was. Let's set the scene. The battle is over. The hyenas are gone, scattered to the wastelands. The fire is extinguished by the life-giving rains. Sima, Iskignala, Isiskui, and hope has returned. But the land itself is still scarred. Literally, the herds are slow to return. The grass is still sparse, and the skeletons of the elephant graveyard are a constant, grim reminder of the recent past. The physical healing of the Pride Lands would take months, even years. But the psychological healing, that's a much harder battle to win. Imagine being Simba in those first few weeks. He's the king, the savior everyone looks to. But inside, he's still the same cub who ran away, haunted by the belief that he killed his own father. He now knows the truth. That Scar was the murderer, but a lifetime of guilt doesn't just vanish overnight. Every corner of Pride Rock would hold a memory. He'd see the gorge where Mufasa fell, the rock where Scar delivered his twisted lies. He's surrounded by lionesses who suffered under Scar's rule, their eyes filled with a mixture of hope and lingering trauma. The pressure on him would have been immense, and that's where our story begins, with a faction of lionesses who remained loyal to Scar. Well, power is a complex thing. Scar wasn't just a brute, he was manipulative. These loyalists wouldn't have just accepted defeat. They would have gone underground, biding their time, whispering in the shadows. She knew the pride was still fragile. Her plan wasn't a full frontal assault. It was something far more insidious. She aimed to break Simba's spirit, to prove to the pride that he was weak and unworthy of Mufasa's legacy. She wanted to make him fail, to turn his own kingdom against him. The plan began subtly. A whisper here, a rumor there. The herds aren't returning because the true king is gone. These seeds of doubt, planted among the other animals, and even some of the more fearful lionesses, started to sprout. Simba, already struggling with his own insecurities, would have heard these whispers. He'd try to shrug them off, to project confidence, but the words would burrow deep. Then came the sabotage. A water source would be mysteriously contaminated. These weren't huge disasters, just a series of small, demoralizing failures. Each one chipped away at Simba's confidence and the pride's faith in him, making it look like Simba was simply incompetent, unable to fill his father's shoes. The turning point came on a moonless night. She didn't challenge him to a fight. Instead, she confronted him with a psychological weapon. She and her followers cornered him, not with claws, but with words steeped in poison. We know about the stampede. We know you left your father to die. Or we know Scar killed him. But where were you? Hiding in the jungle, singing songs, while we suffered. A true king would have stayed. A true king would have fought. You are nothing but a coward who wears a crown. She twisted his guilt, his grief, and his fear into a weapon against him. In that moment, Simba broke. He wasn't facing a physical enemy he could fight. He fled, an imposter, unworthy of being king. He stared into the abyss, the taunts of malice echoing in his ears. But as Simba stood on that precipice, ready to give up, another voice cut through the darkness. It was Rafiki. The past can hurt, Rafiki said, perhaps more gently this time. You faced the truth. Do not let his ghost chase you away again. And then, another voice. Nala, having returned early from the hunt, she had seen Simba was gone and tracked him. She didn't see a failed king. She saw the lion she loved, tormented and in pain. She reminded him not of who his father was, but of who he was. You are not your father, Simba, she said, her voice firm but loving. And you are not Scar. You are yourself, the lion who came back, the lion who saved us. That is who the pride needs. Her words, combined with Rafiki's wisdom, were the lifeline Simba needed. Simba returned to Pride Rock. Just as the sun began to rise, Malice and her followers were already trying to seize control, declaring to the other lionesses that Simba had abandoned them, just as they predicted. But then, Simba appeared on the ledge, Nala at his side. He didn't look broken or defeated. He looked like a king. He didn't roar. "Yes, I ran away," he declared. "I faced the lion who murdered my father and tyrannized our home. I am not haunted by my uncle's shadow. I am guided by my father's light. And my place is here." He directly confronted Malice, exposing her lies and manipulations for all to see. The lionesses who had been wavering now saw the truth. They saw Malice's bitter ambition and Simba's genuine strength. The confrontation was short. The other lionesses, led by Sarabi, quickly surrounded Malice. And her few followers, there was no need for a bloody battle. Their power was broken the moment their lies were exposed. They were exiled, banished to the outlands, where their bitterness would fester and eventually lead to the events of the Lion King II. This secret chapter, this story of Simba's Darkest Night, is crucial. It shows that victory isn't a single event, but an ongoing process. It transformed Simba from a prince who simply took his rightful place into a true king who earned it, not just by defeating a foe, but by conquering his own inner demons. He learned that leadership isn't about being perfect or never showing weakness. It's about facing that weakness and finding the strength to stand up again with the help of those who love you. The rains that fell after Scar's defeat washed away the fire. But it was this victory, this inner triumph, that truly cleansed the Pride lens and allowed the sun to shine on a new and much stronger king. Mirrors Scar's own mark. Simba believes the worst. He exiles Kovu publicly and harshly. This is arguably Simba's lowest moment as king. He allows his trauma to dictate his policy, choosing fear over justice and forgiveness. He repeats the cycle of exclusion that had perpetuated the conflict for years. However, Kiara, driven by her love for Kovu and her inherent understanding of unity, defies her father and runs away to find Kovu. Their separation reinforces the idea that the feud between the prides is fundamentally rooted in generational hatred and misunderstanding. Simba and Zira are mere images of leaders clinging to the past, while Kovu and Kiara represent the future. Future built on dialogue and acceptance. When Kiara finds Kovu, they decide they must return together to force a confrontation, not of violence, but of unity. Simultaneously, Zira, now entirely consumed by vengeance, following Nuka's death, launches a full-scale assault on the Pride Land. The final confrontation between the Pride Landers and the Outlanders is tense. It's not just a physical battle, it's an ideological war. Just as the two prides are about to clash, Kovu and Kiara dramatically intervene. Kiara delivers the famous line, "We are one. Why are we fighting?" She challenges the entire premise of the war, forcing both sides to look beyond their hatred. This moment of clarity halts the battle. Vitani, the fiercest of Zero's daughters, is the first to cross the line, declaring, "No, Kiara is right. Enough." Her defection is massive, symbolizing the Outlanders realizing that Zira's cause is fueled only by madness, not justice. Zira is now completely isolated, clinging to her hatred. Simba finally opens his heart, offering sanctuary to all the Outlanders. Zira, unwilling to accept anything less than absolute power or Simba's death, makes a final, desperate lunge at Simba. Kiara intervenes, and in the ensuing struggle, Zira slips and falls to her death in the rushing river below. The ending is a powerful tableau of reconciliation. Kovu, the designated dark heir, stands beside Kiara and Simba, accepted not as a weapon, but as a future king. The Outlanders return to the Pridelands, finally unifying the kingdom. The story of Kovu isn't just a romance. It's a profound exploration of inherited trauma versus chosen destiny. Kovu was marked by darkness, scarred by abuse, and designed for evil, yet he chose light. He proves that while history may shape us, it doesn't define us. Simba, too, learns a vital lesson. True strength lies not in fear and exclusion, but in bravery and inclusion. So, what do you think? Was Kovu always destined for good? Or did Kiara truly save him from the dark past? It isn't just a simple story of good versus evil. It's a tale of family, betrayal, and the long, dark shadow that jealousy can cast over generations. It's a Shakespearean drama played out on the African savannah, and there's so much to unpack. Let's start at the beginning. From the very first scene, the contrast between Mufasa's family and Scar is stark. Mufasa is the beloved king, strong, wise, and celebrated. His son, Simba, is the heir apparent, the golden child destined for greatness. The circle of life is in full, glorious swing. But where is Scar during this grand presentation? He's lurking in the shadows. Literally and figuratively. He's the disgruntled brother, passed over for the throne, first by Mufasa, and now by his newborn nephew. His very first lines drip with sarcasm and resentment. When Mufasa confronts him for missing the ceremony, Scar's response, "I was first in line." Until the little hairball was born, perfectly sums up his entire motivation. It's pure, unadulterated jealousy. He sees Simba not as family, but as the final obstacle to the power he feels he's been denied. This sets the stage for Scar's manipulation of young Simba. He preys on Simba's innocence and his desire to prove his bravery. Think about the scene in the elephant graveyard. Scar cleverly plants the seed of curiosity, knowing full well that Simba's adventurous spirit will lead him straight into danger. He frames it as a place only the bravest lions go, a challenge Simba can't resist. He's not just sending Simba into danger, he's testing the waters, seeing how easily he can control his nephew. When Mufasa saves the day, it only deepens Scar's frustration and solidifies his resolve to remove both father and son from the picture. He realizes he can't just rely on chance. He needs a more definitive, more tragic plan. And that leads us to the most heartbreaking scene in the entire film. The stampede. This is where Scar's villainy reaches its peak. He orchestrates the entire event, using Simba as bait. He places the cub in the gorge, triggers the wildebeest stampede, and then deceptively alerts Mufasa. The brilliance of this plan is in its cruelty. He forces Mufasa to perform the ultimate act of fatherly love, sacrificing himself for his Sunan, then uses that very act to seal his own fate. The moment Scar whispers, "Long live the king," and throws Mufasa from the cliff is forever burned into our collective memory. It's the ultimate betrayal, brother against brother. But Scar's evil doesn't end there. What he does next is arguably just as wicked. He confronts the traumatized, grieving Simba, and twists the narrative. He convinces Simba that Mufasa's death was his fault. "If it weren't for you, he'd still be alive," he hisses. This is psychological warfare at its most brutal. He doesn't just kill the king. He destroys the prince's spirit. He burdens a child with an unbearable guilt, ensuring he will never return to claim his birthright. Run away, Simba. Run away and never return. With those words, he banishes the true king and clears his own path to the throne. It's a masterclass in manipulation, turning tragedy into his personal triumph. Years pass, and the pride lands wither under Scar's rule. The vibrant kingdom we saw at the beginning becomes a barren wasteland. This is a powerful visual metaphor. Mufasa ruled in balance with the circle of life, but Scar's reign, born of greed and selfishness, disrupts that balance entirely. The land itself reflects the soul of its king. While Simba is living a carefree Hakuna Matata lifestyle with Timon and Pumbaa, his home is suffering. He has suppressed his past, hiding from the guilt and responsibility that Scar forced upon him. He has forgotten who he is. It takes the combined efforts of Nala Rafiki and a vision of his father to finally break through Simba's self-imposed exile. The "remember who you are" seen is pivotal. Mufasa's spirit reminds Simba that he is more than his past mistakes. He is his father's son and the one true king. This is the moment Simba finally begins to shed the guilt and embrace his destiny. He stops running from his past and decides to run toward his future, toward his responsibility to his pride and his kingdom. The final confrontation between Simba and Scar is electric. It's not just a physical battle. It's a battle for the truth. When Scar tries to use the same psychological trick again, trying to paint Simba as the murderer in front of the whole pride, Simba is ready. He accepts responsibility, showing his growth and maturity. But the tide turns when Scar, overconfident and gloating, whispers the truth to Simba. I killed That's the moment the spell is broken. The guilt that has haunted Simba for years is lifted, replaced by a righteous fury. The truth is finally out, and the pride sees Scar for the usurper and murderer he truly is. The fight on Pride Rock, silhouetted against the flames, is epic. Simba, fueled by justice, finally overpowers his uncle, and in a final, poetic moment, he offers Scar the same choice Scar gave him as a cub: run away and never return. But Scar, true to his nature, chooses deceit one last time, leading to his final downfall at the hands of his once loyal hyenas. He is consumed by the very chaos he created. The story of Simba and Scar is a timeless warning about the corrosive power of jealousy and the long journey of healing from trauma and guilt. Simba's victory isn't just about reclaiming the throne. It's about reclaiming his identity. He had to face the darkest moment of his past to restore balance, not just to the Pride Lands, but to himself. It's a powerful narrative that shows us that you can't run from who you are, and that true strength lies in facing your past and embracing your rightful place in the great circle of life. Thanks so much for watching. What's your favorite moment between these two iconic characters? Let me know down in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into your favorite films. See you next time.